Okay, so tonight I want to talk about some of the experimentation I've been doing. One of the main things I've been trying to do is do the animation in Cinema and then separate it out using cryptomattes so I can just render the animation and then bring it into Nuke, and then you can put whatever background you'd like in it. So I'm also going to discuss Houdini a little bit. And so let's get started. First of all, I got to move myself here because you can't see anything. And I'm going to put myself down here for now. I think that's the best place for me. Okay, so as you can see, I have the pot, which we brought in before as alembic. I took the coin and I just put it all together as a subdivision surface. I think we saw that last time. And now I have an emitter. This is for particles. And I added, also with the pot, I put, this is a, collision, this is a collision body. So that's what the pot has, that simulation tag on. So when the coins collide with it, they're going to collide. They're not going to go flying right through it. And the coins themselves have a rigid body tag on them. So what's happening by making this a child of the emitter, then this is gonna, you'll see, let me start this. Let me first bring this back to the beginning and start this up. And you see a lot of them are hitting the edge. But at least you can see something here. My problem when I use the other camera, I created a new camera. Let me stop this and show you the other camera view. Now these little squares mean that's the active view. And you can see you can see the stuff flying out. And here's where it really, now some of it will fall back down right into the pot. Some of it will not especially exciting. But the thing is, we can view it from two different angles. And you can, whoop, I hit the wrong thing. I'm going to get rid of, and this is why I didn't like this angle. But I think the problem's more with the animation. So we have our pot, we have our animation here, our emitter with the coins. Now one thing, I rendered it in Octane. Now Octane, what I wanted was to use a cryptomatte, which is basically each geometry is identified, and then you can only show the ones that you want to see, which means that you can show your geometry and then have a separate background. Let me show you. Edit render settings. Now, one thing I've learned, Octane, I think there's still some work to be done on their new, this is a brand new AOV system that they added in the last couple of, I guess this last version or two. And the cryptomatte is kind of funky. Sometimes if you pick the wrong thing, it'll crash. It can crash Cinema, or at least crash the plugin. but if I use geometry node name, which means theoretically, if you type pot, you should just see the pot, and subdivision surface, you just see the subdivision. And that is it's gonna add this in to the file. Well, actually, I think I have to create a separate file that has this effect. And what I want to show you now is how this looks like in Nuke. So in Nuke, this is the file with the cryptomat, and if we look here, there's viewer 1. I don't think it's up. As you see, this is your mat, and this is the cryptomat node. So I selected everything. The full video, I think, is, gotta be careful because you can, there, that's 2. Now what you want to do is, this is the background, this what we have up now. The cryptomat is the foreground, because what's going to happen is the background and the foreground are going to come together, whereas where this is, and I don't know if it's exactly doing 100% what I want, because theoretically we should see this coin. Merge this. So you're putting the cryptomat above the video as a mask, and on viewer 2, what you should get is, so you don't see that coin. So I don't know if it picked up the coins there, but at any rate, also when I tried to separate them out, didn't seem to work. So I'm not sure why that's the case. But what you can do is you have this background here, which is just a free picture I downloaded, and you can pipe that in and merge this, which is just a pot, over the merge node, and what happens is you can then, if you go to 2, you can see, and it's not particularly interesting. I do have to figure out why the coins were only the pot was masked and not the coins that were outside of it, because generally it masks the animation. It's doing it right. So yeah, so this is our output. Like I say, it's still a little work to be done there. So that's one thing you can do. Of course, back in cinema, there are lots of other effects and things of that nature that you can do. And it's quite possible that, even though in general the geometry name has been, because this is considered a geometry, you would think this would be, but maybe with the emitter, that is why because I'm trying to pick stuff used by emitter. So that's something I have to look into. The redshift seemed a little bit less problematic, but it seems, so one of those. I like Octane is nice and fast, but it is a question of why I didn't, it was only masking the pot, probably because, again, it's a geometry, and we have particles here, and I don't know if you can do that with a mat. So for this particular case, this may not be what we want. And then we do have our 2 alembics, our pot and our coin. And what you can do, let me bring up Houdini, show you. taking its time a little bit. There we go. So Houdini's up. What you can do here is, let me bring in I think this is it. And you can see I have both in here. Now, you can do, attach this to points, or you can attach this to a particle system and essentially get similar behavior, probably a bit more controlled as well. Another thing, this is very good at special effects. So you can do destruction, you can do fire, all that kind of good stuff that one may want to do to make something look cool. Excuse me. And I have a camera here. You can see this. I had to be very careful in exporting it. Let me show you back in here. So the way you export, you would select the item you want. If you just want to export one item, you can actually export the entire animation if you want. You can actually take this whole thing and export it back to Houdini. But if you just want, so I just did selection only, and you can see when you hit OK, whoop, that's not what I wanted to show you. Well, that's when you give it a name. What you're going to do with an alembic is you can also, because I would only in this case need one. If I'm going to do the animation in Houdini, then I would only need that one, frame. So that is that. And what I'm going to be doing to continue on with this is I'm going to try to think about what do I want? What effect do I really want? And I'm thinking of, maybe some building destruction while this keeps going on, or something. Try to make some kind of interesting animation. Maybe figure out how to use masking with particles, because that's what they are in C4D. They're particles. For that purposes, that animation, you're actually attaching the alembic to the particle, and you can do something very similar in Houdini. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful to get some of the one thing you have to be aware of when I first brought this in. You have to. I think I exported it at 100, and it was massive. I exported this at 1, and you can see it's a reasonably good size. I could theoretically make it a little bit bigger, and of course I rotated it and stuff so that you can actually see it. So, and I probably want to make something else as well so I have a couple of different coins of gold and silver or something like that ultimately. So anyway, as you can see, there's a lot of things you can do. Still have to work through exactly what I want to do. My old one, of course, was basically a cityscape with the pot with stuff just coming out of it. And but I think I want something a little bit more interesting. To get the same message across of, whatever gold and silver, hard assets are going to be there, regardless of what crazy things go on. Hopefully this has been helpful to you and given you some ideas and see kind of where I'm going. And you can see we got this new pot here, and I don't think I used the Grayscale Gorilla shader for the pot. I may decide to make my own only because they rely heavily on image files for their stuff, which is fine. But that also means you can't tweak the colors and things of that nature. So depending on what you're trying to do, what is nice about that stuff is you can just pick something that, if it's something that would work on in your project, you can just put it in. You don't have to spend time fussing and creating a material. So anyway, again, thank you for watching, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.